How you doing? So is Beta Ray Bill the best cosmic champion in the game? So I'm going kind of fast because he has a lot of abilities and some of you might not understand what's going on. So just keep in mind he is a bit complicated to play. I'm usually not a big fan of champions that are complicated to play, so he might not be the champion for you, just to let you know. But to maximize his damage or his abilities, you have to know how to play him. So we're gonna go. I will slow it down from time to time just to give you a better explanation what's going on when it comes to his abilities. So when it comes to Beta Ray Bill, one of his abilities, he has the ability to get rid of opponent's armor up effects. So let's take a look at it. We're gonna read it from his abilities. So basically, I think he's the only one that has this ability. I think it's the first in the game. So basically, Beta Ray Bill first medium attack, pulverize one armor up effect, removing it and dealing a burst of X direct amount of damage. So I do believe that when it comes to pulverize, he is the only one that has this ability in the game, and I think it's pretty new. So to keep it simple, what it means is basically if a champion has armor up buffs, he gets rid of them and he does burst of X amount of direct damage. And you'll see here against Red Skull, he's a good counter against Red Skull because he gets rid of his armor of effects as well as does X amount of direct damage. He's also immune to shock, as you could see here, while fighting against Shuri, and also immune to power drain, as you'll see here. As you can see, it says immune because Viv Vision is trying to um, power drain him, but since he's immune to power drain, um, he doesn't get power drain. Not only that, he actually it's like the opposite. He gains a bar of power if opponent tries to power drain him. So that is cool ability he has. So one of the best abilities he have, and probably the most favorite thing he has in the game, is 50% poison resistant and 50% bleed resistance. So if you don't run damage mastery, this might not matter to you, but this is such a big difference. He's gonna be like so much better, I do think, with damage mastery, and I guess I'll explain a little bit more later. But let's go, keep going. So he's a good counter against tech champion. It does make sense since he's cosmic. So basically against tech champions or when he's immune to an effect like shock or power drain, he gains a steady buff for 20 seconds. So what is a steady buff? If you're not sure what that is basically like he's a good counter against future Ant-Man. Basically what it is he's has an ability where he ignores glance. So like future Ant-Man, he cannot glance because he has this steady buff. So really good counter against future Ant-Man. What else? So if you have the Thor relic, you'll see it right here. Let's take a look at it. So basically, it doesn't show it there. You can kind of see it on the top. So the Thor relic increases the potency of all personal buffs by 25%. That is really good. I think that's going to be great for incursions. So basically, you have a Thor relic, all the buff potency from, like you get buffs or like from buff cornucopia, it's going to increase the potency by 25%. He also gains an unstoppable buff while holding a heavy attack. It does have a cooldown of 24 seconds if you have him on awaken. So one of his abilities is charging a heavy attack. So his gonna be this is where it gets complicated when it comes to his playstyle. To maximize his damage, you have to learn how to intersect while charging a heavy attack, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So he gains these called intensifies. This is pretty much how you want him to maximize his damage. You have to know how to hold a heavy attack, and he gains intensify. So while above 2 bars of power, basically he inflicts an intimidate passive. What it means is basically when it comes to intimidate, your opponent is less likely to attack you. But then when you're max stack, which is 5, uh, intensify, he gains an inferior passive. Basically, they're more likely to attack you. So as you could see from the gameplay. What else? As you can see here, he gets an Intimidate buff, then it turns into Infuriate buff. And you have to know how to pretty much hold your heavy attack and intersect with special 2 if you want to maximize his damage as well. So as you can see, activating special 2 while charging a heavy attack. Oh, that was fast. But basically what I said, if the buff is pause, basic attack has a 10% chance to inflict a shock passive, dealing X amount of damage, max attack 12. So if you want to speed up the shocks expiring, you have to throw a medium attack, and then with a special one, basically it's gonna speed it up to maximize his damage. And this is another way to maximize his damage, but again, you have to time it perfectly, so that's another complication when it comes to his playstyle. So he's not going to be your standard 5-hit combo if you want to maximize his damage. So when any shock on the opponent ends, he deals burst X amount of damage. So let's go. So as you can see here, you have to know how to time it perfectly while charging a heavy attack. So if you're having an awaken like this one right here, you have to know how to charge your heavy attack and be able to cancel it and charge a special 2. So I believe this is a special one. Was that a special one? Yeah, this is a special one. So basically a special one grants you a fury buff for 15 seconds. So it's not a lot, but there's ways to pause it. And during this attack, the potency of personal burst damage is increased by 200% unawakened, but you could increase that if you have him awakened and preferably at max sig, and we'll see it a little bit later. While the personal buff is paused, when any shock ends on the opponent during this attack, inflicts a personal passive shock. Personal shock passive. As you can see here, if you time it perfectly, right here, you see how he does X amount of damage with a special one. So when it comes to special 2, it's pretty much the same thing. You just have to know how to time it perfectly to maximize his damage. As you see here, he gains an energized buff when you get to your special 2. So basically, you want to throw your special 2, you gain an energized buff. What it is basically increases your power gain, so you can get back to your special 1 right away. And you want to throw your medium attack for your first hit. You want to speed up the shock passive. Special 3, basically you want to rely on it if your champion is shock immune. So he does lose a lot of damage if the champion is shock immune, but you could go with the special 3 route, so your damage will still be okay, but not as good as if the champion is shock immune, but he's still gonna have good damage because he has this called resonance. So this champion hits deal a burst of damage, additional energy damage based on the damage dealt on the given potency. This is, I believe, activates with a special 3. So, but he does suffer champions again with high energy resistance, like Bishop, or like who else? Like Guardian, I think, which is unfortunate because I'm not sure about Guardian, but I know Bishop for sure has high energy resistance. So you don't want to really use him against Bishop because his damage is going to be really just not that good. So what else? So let's take a look at his signature ability. I think this is really the biggest thing about him. It's his signature ability, because a lot of people that get him that purchase Beta Ray Bill, they're gonna get the 7-star, and he's going to be unawakened. So the big question is, a lot of people are saying, does he need to be awakened? Yes. Does he need to be max sig? Preferably. Does he necessary to be at max sig? That's up to you. I personally would want him to be awakened and max sig for sure. So this is a big question. Should you get the 6-star or the 7-star? That's up to you. I'm not going to decide for you, but I can tell you, you want him to be awakened and preferably at max sig. So when it comes to the potency of personal burst of damage is increased by 40%. So a lot of people don't like that idea that his damage is tied to his signature ability, but that 40% isn't as much as you think. Like, you're just thinking that you're losing 40% of your damage if you don't have him awakened compared to max sig, but that's not really it. It's because Supposedly, his increased potency from the burst damage is additive instead of multiplicative, which doesn't make sense considering onslaught is multiplicative. So let's say you're getting, as you saw earlier, 200% burst damage. Okay, it'll be 240% at max sig versus unawakened, which is only 200% instead of 280%, which you would think if it was multiplicative, but it's not, it's just additive. So keep that in mind. So you can look at it good or bad. It's up to you how you want to view it, if it's good or bad. So another good thing about his ability is you can reduce unstoppable cooldown by 10 seconds. So this is really nice uh, if you mess up, or you know, because let's say you do get hit, you know, you're gonna activate the unstoppable and it will go on cooldown for 24 seconds. But if you have him at max sig, it's only going to be 14-second cooldown. Well, and this is why I really want him to be awakened personally. While personal unstoppable buff is active, damage taken is reduced by 100%. I think it is max sig, that I'm not sure, but I believe it is. But it does not reduce against opponent's special attack 3. That's the only reason why I don't think he's going to be the best Cosmic Champion right now, is because it doesn't work against special attack 3. You know, I mean, but his playstyle, you could say it's, I would say it's pretty complicated if you want to maximize his damage. I get this like Ghost or Kitty Fried Bride, Ghost or Kitty Fried Vibe using him when you, but the only thing is it doesn't work against opponent special attack 3. If that was worked against special attack 3, I really would consider him the best Cosmic Champion in the game. I do think when it comes to Beta Ray Bill, if you, assuming you do get the 7-star, you and he's an awaken and you don't run damage mastery, I think he's just gonna be a mid champion, at least for now. And I think overall you might be happy with him, but I just think he's gonna be a mid champion if you have him unawakened and you don't run damage mastery. However, if you have him awaken and max sig, as well as you run damage mastery, this champion is gonna be, without a doubt, top 5 best Cosmic Champion in the game, and I would say the best 7-star Cosmic Champion in the game if you have him at max sig as well as running damage mastery. Because with damage mastery, he's just gonna be constantly healing from Liquid Courage. You could also with Gallon's ability, oh my goodness, you know, he could be 100% bleed resistant that with Coagulate with the held ability. If you have like at least 2 points in Coagulate, that means you can counter Caldross, Biohazard. It's really unfortunate. It would be nice if it was 65% poison or bleed resistant, but you know, you gotta, because that would make him 100% poison resistant with the Herald ability, but it is what it is. It's still good. He can be up to 85% poison resistant with the Gallant ability. That means he's going to be constantly healing. I think when it comes to incursion, he's going to be really, I think he's going to be good when it comes to incursions. He's you know, Cosmic Champions usually are very good when it comes to incursion, and he does have buffs, and you can increase their duration depending on um, what hacks you get. So it's really good. I think he's going to be pretty good for incursion, as well as when it comes to his unstoppable buffs. As you can see, while personal unstoppable buff is active, damage taken is reduced by 100%. So if you're running Liquid Courage, or you have like double edge, you're going to be constantly healing while you have the unstoppable buff. I think it's personal. I'm not sure if it's all unstoppable buffs, but I know for sure when it comes to his personal unstoppable buffs, he's gonna be healing, you know, from bleed and poison if you have this unstoppable buff, because he reduces damage by 100%. So that means 100% resistance. And then let's say if you had degen on you, you can pretty much hold your heavy attack so you don't take any damage from degen, you know, like you see a lot in um, nodes nowadays, especially in incursion. So I do think this champion is going to be a really good champion if you have him at max sig, as well as you're running damage mastery, because he's going to be constantly healing from Liquid Courage. So that's my thoughts when it comes to Beta Ray Bill. Are you gonna get the 6 star or 7 star. Keep in mind, if you do have the 7 star, you're likely gonna have him on Awaken for a while. Just keep in mind, if you do get Morbius, same idea. I don't know how many of you have Morbius Awaken already, or pretty sure that not many people have him at max sig. I think when it comes to Beta Ray Bill, he really wants him to be awakened and preferably at max sig if you want to maximize his damage as well as his utility. So that's my thought. Thank you.